September 2025. This is the astrology forecast you didn't know you needed, but you definitely do. And I am Starlene Brighter. I'm here with Mark Matheny. We're going to talk about the transits and what's going on in the world in the moment related to astrology. So before we dig in, what's up, Mark? How are you managing through this time period?
Just running the gauntlet every day. That's where we are.
You're like my
Just
barometer.
A never-ending stream of yeah. It's just a never-ending stream of I interact with a lot of different people in different groups, so I'm doing stuff like I don't usually say it. It's obvious they're going through the same or similar things. So I want to make sure I'm not just like spitting out like my transits at people and telling them they should be feeling this. Like I gauge what's going on out there. Even if I don't, I'm always out there and I'm always watching, just like your government.
Just like the government. That's awesome. Yeah, I hear you on that.
Like the government.
The government does watch. Not as closely as they would like to, though. So tell me, I know September's loaded, okay? Tell me, like,
They're not as closely as they're...
Did you
No, not as closely as they're going to. Is what I said there.
Exactly. So, tell me, because I'm sorry, I think it glitched for a second there, and whatever. The computers, maybe it's me, maybe it's the internet, maybe it's the government. But tell me, what is like your like?
Maybe it's the government.
They're hearing everything. But what is your spiel about September? Like, what's the biggie? I know we have like eclipses. I know we have Uranus going retrograde. I know we have Mars moving signs. But what's the biggie that you are like looking at and eyeballing and thinking, okay, the government is watching? We're going to get flagged just for saying that word 100 times today.
So, I know. I just can't help myself.
It's okay.
So obvious. I think maybe the biggest eclipse at 29 Virgo, which is on September 21st. So that's the last day of summer. It's like fall second is the autumnal equinox. So I think that's kind of the biggest thing. But really, when you look at it overall, it's got to be that first eclipse on September 7th, because there's a Uranus station the day before that. So we have a Uranus station and then an eclipse the day after. And that eclipse is at 50. Having a Uranus station next to an eclipse is extremely active, is my guess on that. That's just like way too much. It's just way too much.
And the eclipse
and all the other planets still retrograded. What now?
The eclipse is 15 Pisces, Virgo. Wait. The full moon.
15 Pisces.
Mm-hmm.
So that the
Is it me
yeah.
that's choppy
So
to
that's
you, or are you choppy to me? Because I might reset my computer and like, because for some reason everything's choppy. Is it
you're choppy to me.
okay?
You're
So I'll be right back. Just hang out and talk
choppy
to
to
everybody
me.
for a few minutes.
I'm
I'll be right back.
in real time. Okay. Okay.
I'll be right back.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So I think that that second eclipse on September 1st is probably going to be more powerful, but that first one mixed with Uranus, like at the beginning of September, Saturn's already retrograded back into 29 Pisces. And so there's a loose sextile between Saturn and Uranus at that point. Uranus is at between 1 and 2 degrees of Gemini. So that's going to be, I would guess that, and that to that things like here in Ohio, and then there is, you know, football season is starting up and things like that. So there's always lots of big things, and then too, that's the week after Labor Day. So there's just a lot of activities and things happening that first week of September, or the Uranus station and the eclipse there. Uh, I would say will be an interesting scenario.
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of went over the little.
Right. I just wanted to double check YouTube, make sure we were still streaming, and it looks like we are. So that's good. Okay. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting month coming up.
You appear to be much better now. You see more in real time now.
Good, because
So
my
I don't
computer
know
seemed
if
like
that
it was being glitchy to me too. So I don't even know what
the
gremlin got
internet
into my
on my
computer.
end, but okay.
Oh, okay, Christina, thank you for
Fixed
telling us. So
whenever it
you're
was.
choppy, apparently. Yeah. But okay,
Sure.
so we were going over the beginning. We haven't even really started. So welcome. Thank you for sticking with us. Honestly, I think that these eclipses are, with all of the outer planet
I was just
activity.
riffing on the eclipse.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. Say that again.
I was saying, with all of these outer planets connecting to each other and the eclipse
Say that
activity,
again.
are you expecting like certain events, or in your past experience of looking at these, when these outer planets connect? I know you haven't seen anything quite like this before. I don't know when there has been something quite like this, but is there something we can look back and think about, this is connecting to a past cycle we're in? Oh, I'm hearing that you need to restart, Mark.
Okay. Do you want me to close out and then jump back in?
Yeah, restart your computer. Does that take long?
Well, I can just click out of this and then click back in on the link that you.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. All right. I'll be right back.
Okay. So, fun stuff.
I can't hear you now. I can't hear you.
I should probably unmute myself. That helps.
Okay. Okay.
Can you hear me now? Yeah. You're so much better. Everything is normal. Okay, this is awesome. Great. I'll just that sounds great. Okay, so let's start from the top since we really didn't get enough out, right? What is your main thing with this month? I know that the eclipse is a big one, but I also know that there's been so much activity with these outer planets connecting to each other and how they're doing it in such a way that is really I don't know of a time when they've all really had that same connection at the same time like this. Do you?
No, I've not seen where we have 4 outer planets all in aspect to each other, all in the same, they're all in masculine signs. I've not been able to find a time where we've had all the outers and masculine signs before, but not all like just doing the re-entering. I don't know that we had, because the technology is so radically different now than it was like the last time Uranus was in Gemini was 80 years ago. So we're just the potential outcomes just because of the super connectedness of everything, just I think exponentially adds ways that this could play out. It's not normal to have all the outer planets at within a couple degrees of orbital or feminine signs at the same time. We're in bizarro land. This kind of stuff doesn't happen in the real world. So there's we can look at certain things that happened with each of these individual transits, but it's so exponentially different on every level that there's really no telling like where this is going to stop or end. Several shows I think was this period from was beginning of July through, I was saying September 1st, but actually I think we should extend that up through the end of summer, up to the equinox after that 29-degree Pisces or 29-degree Virgo eclipse on the new moon. Is just really where the goes, because I can kind of promise you that anything that's a big problem or a big issue right now is probably going to be, if you're going to have like this fall and a good part of the winter to kind of fix things and tweak things and get things to where they're running smoothly, because this energy we have now is not gonna stop once we get to next spring, and like the 4 outer planets are in these signs for 2.5 years. We don't really have a stopping point from next spring until we get to the end of April 2028, which is when Saturn enters Taurus. That's going to be the first applying of the brakes. See, up until that point. So I would say now's a good time to just kind of figure out what needs fixed and streamlined. I just like keep here from July through, September 21st. Um, that's going to be your project list, your to-do list for this fall is to work on fix. Like, to me, every day lasts like 10 seconds right now. It's like it's just there's just the level of chaos just all day long, every single day is just like nothing that I've ever seen or experienced before. And two, to add on to that, I know next spring, late winter, spring, when all these planets, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, have all retrograded back into Pisces and Taurus, and then go back into it's going to be on at that point. It's things just like everything is going to change like every single day. So you're going to have things simplified and streamlined because I just feel like I get run out. But of course, too, I think between you and me, like every challenging transit you can have, I think one of the two of us has.
Yes. I have a Saturn square, and then the square is opposite Saturn square to my nodes, and then my nodes are conjunct my Saturn and my moon. So like, I have this whole like FU going on in my chart right now. And because Saturn does the retrograde and all that, it hangs out there for quite some time. So I'm super excited about that. Plus Pluto on my midheaven and Sun. Eventually we'll go to my Venus, Mercury, and Jupiter. I think I'm going to cry, and I'm just kidding. And Uranus did move on its merry way off of my ascendant. It was there for like 200 years, though. Or it felt like it. So much chaos.
What degree is your ascendant?
2358 Taurus. So it's gone now. It's left. But it was like retrograding in that same degree, like, or direct, and it's just. But Pluto is not leaving anytime soon. I have a stellium in early Aquarius. I know Christina, one of our listeners or watchers, whatever, she is also got a lot of Aquarius planets too. So like we've got like poor Aquarian people, I think they're getting beat up. But I mean, when you look at the technology, if you're looking from an archetypal perspective, if Aquarius rules technology, we are living in that like age of, it's always the age of everything is changing. That doesn't ever end because, we're always advancing. However, this is an exponential advance that, I watched this really great podcast yesterday. I actually listened to most of it. I haven't finished, but it was with two different scientists of the brain. One is like a psychiatrist, and one is a neuroscientist. I don't know if you know Diary of a CEO, the guy who does that's the name of the podcast. He had them both on, and they were talking about AI, and pretty much the world, if you're in technology, has experienced AI to some degree or another, and it's not leaving. It's just becoming more everywhere. So it's like you can't get away from it. But so what he did is interview these two people that are experts of the brain, talking about how you can use it in a good way to help your brain, and how you can use it in a way that's just not helpful. And what I really took from that was interaction. And when I do use AI to like brainstorm things, because it's great for that, you need to interact with it. It's like, instead of just saying, hey, write me an article about tomatoes, like and you just use that article for something, that doesn't help your brain. It actually makes you dumber. Like they were doing they talked about their research and stuff like that. But like if you said, hey, I want to write an article about tomatoes, and then you went in and like talked about it and interacted with it, that's way you learn too. When you think about kids and the way they learn, and they were also talking about children of the day, the modern day, like imagine being in school right now, like how many kids are using AI that are just, like writing great articles, but it's really not coming from them. It's making them kind of stupid. So, dumbed down. I shouldn't say stupid, sounds mean, but I mean, it is what it is. If they're not using their brain, they're losing it. And that's what the whole point was. You can use it to help you. I'm learning Persian with it, learning how to write Persian with it, learning how to, like I'm learning, different things. And, there are ways that you can use it that can be helpful, but that there's also ways that can be harmful. And most of the people are not educated on it. That's the problem. And so going back to the astrology part of it, this is that Aquarian, we're on the edge. We're figuring out what is going on. How do we use it? Where do we need to peel it back a little bit, dial it back a little bit? Where do we need to, make more easier, healthy ways to deal with it? Because when we think about it, we're old enough to remember when there was not a internet, right? I mean, most people probably watching this, well, maybe not. Maybe there's some younger people watching this too, like they grew up with the internet. My kids did. Right. So, but there was a time when the internet came around and people were against that. Oh no, the internet. So there was a time when credit cards became a thing. That was a little bit before my time. Like not that credit cards became a thing, but like bank cards, that was like, oh no, I'm not going to use a bank card. It's electronical. People got scared of it. Like every time we have a spike in technology or something like that, people get freaked out over it. But then they start to understand this is the new way, like this is just how the world is shifting. And I think it's important to be wise about and educate yourself about how to use these tools to best serve you, as opposed to hinder you. Because unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, I don't want it to really go away. I think there's really good things about it. What do you think about AI? Are you like totally against it or what?
I'm not totally against. I think there's definitely some good things you can. So I didn't hear this I didn't hear this myself. But I had the radio on the other day on the way home from work, and they were talking about how some of the other radio stations, like in Central Ohio, are using artificial intelligence. Like they've started replacing some of their DJs with artificial intelligence.
Wow.
And I'm like, they're admitting they're doing that in every industry, really. So
I saw that with models. Like they were complaining about like, oh, the models on the magazines. I forget, was Vogue or something. Don't quote me on that. I don't remember, but it was some magazine and people were pissed. And I'm like, I can't kind of blame them. But like, it's funny you talked about the DJ thing too, because one thing I've used AI to do is my stepfather passed a year ago and change, and he had an enormous record collection. A lot of them are worth some money, believe it or not. And so like hundreds of them. So every week I've been going over to my mom's and I'm like telling the AI this, and this, and it does the research for me, puts it in a spreadsheet so I can get rid of them somehow for her. I don't even know how I'm going to get there yet, but I'm like, I would have taken a year to do what I'm doing. That's taking me a few hours every week. And in a couple months, I'll be done. You know what I mean? And I can figure out how to sell them. But they're all cataloged. I mean, like there's good uses for it. But yeah, you got to be careful. I guess that's the thing.
I can help you with the record thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's really good to know. That's really
in fact,
good
I
to
just
know.
cataloged all my.
You did?
I just cataloged all my CDs on a scanner on your phone, and instead of like typing all of them in on spreadsheet, it just reads the barcode, and you can, so I can help you with that.
Yeah, that's great. And
Um,
what I did is just this is the coolest part of it, is I just leave it, the talking part of it. I read the record and the number to it, and then it looks it up on different websites and then puts it in my spreadsheet and how much it's worth, where it got that from. So it's like, I could do all that, obviously, but it's cool. So that's good. I'm glad to know that. I'm glad we talked about this. So yeah, there's so many good uses for it. My nephew, who's 10 years old, just made a little app. Like, did you freeze?
in a
Maybe.
second, he wanted us to touch. He wanted us to touch on the um, Atlas thing,
Mm-hmm.
the alien spaceship that's supposed to be here in November.
Oh, okay. So that's new to me. Tell me about
The
it.
thing out in space that they've identified. They said it's not
Yeah,
direction.
I did.
There's so there, it actually astrologically it does kind of. I'm not saying there's going to be any like Neptune stations um, around the end of Pisces. Neptune is retrograde already. Neptune goes retrograde in. I'm sorry. Neptune's already retrograde. Neptune goes direct in early December, but November and into and all of December. And it's making an exact sextile to Uranus, which is retrograded back to the end of Taurus, and Neptune's also conjunct Saturn, which is retrograded back into the end of Pisces already at that. So I would say there is a good chance that there's something more to that than because the reason they think it's some sort of spaceship or something and not a comet because it doesn't have a tail, and uh, there's no tail on it,
Oh, there's not,
which means that like it can't really be a comet.
but
Yeah, so
it's not a
there's
rogue
some weird.
planet.
What'd you say about not on the internet?
I said it's not a rogue planet that just wandering around, because I only saw like a headline for that, and I didn't really
I
because I
mean
was like, is this just like another one of those things? Because
long and cylindrical, like a cigar shape. So it's not nearly as big as a planet, but it's big enough to be of some concern.
wow, I did not know that. That's
More than the usual false scare.
So are you thinking that it could be around the Neptune station?
Well, they gave the I forget what the date is. It's like early mid November, and so um, that's a month before. and it's making the aspects to Uranus and Saturn. So I'd say that's a pretty significant transit around that area. I think we've got a delay or something again.
We do. I know. I wish the internet could catch up.
That's happening.
So you want to start talking about the particular aspects that are going on this month? The first one in on the 1st of September is Saturn entering Pisces retrograde again, so it's going backwards. It's at 29 Pisces, Saturn, September 1. So what are you thinking about Saturn going back into Pisces after it's been in Aries for a minute?
So Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune are all going to retrograde back this fall. Saturn is the first one. So Saturn rules 3D structures, but also we've had Saturn in Aries so far. I think it was March when Saturn first entered Aries.
Is it March?
I'm wrong on that. It was late May when Saturn entered Aries. So I would say probably for me more so than others, but I'd say this is going to be a very fast, bumpy ride is what Saturn in Aries is looking like. Back into Pisces, I think a little bit. And that's kind of what the problem is with all the outer planets being in super tight aspect.
Right. Is that you end up having that problem.
It's all your drunk college egging on to do something like in cahoots and arguing, pushing each other to just go faster and faster and faster. So
that's funny.
I'm hoping it's the problem with Saturn and Pisces is there's just this formlessness to things like time doesn't seem to exist and stuff. I mean, hopefully it slows things way down, because I think that's what we need at this point is things to slow way down for a little bit, and that'll be the first step of it.
It would be good if things would slow down.
So I'm hoping that's what we. Yeah, I'm hoping it'll make things slow down a little. Saturn in Pisces is much more interested with like spiritual things and things like that, instead of the just going 5,000 miles a second and just like a lot of these things that have happened with series, they're not gonna come to fruition. They're just gonna points, but there's gonna have to be lots of adjustments and stuff made to them, because just
when you say that, what exactly do you mean? Like a lot of things that people are trying to accomplish?
Yeah, I would say that, especially since like all that chaotic stuff we had early in July, like there's going to have to be a lot of it. Aries is really, really good at charging through and getting stuff done and getting a lot of stuff, blowing off the hindrances, but I don't, I think a lot of times that the planets that are in Aries don't stop to think about,
They don't stop to think.
how things are going to play out and what kind of so
those impulsive Aries planets, how could they? So,
yeah.
okay. So it's almost like the planets
so I think there's going to have to.
Go ahead.
I don't know what's going on.
I know it's super glitchy. I hope I can like edit this later and maybe make it not glitchy and repost it. But if not, we'll see what happens. But what I was saying is the planets, they don't like us talking crap about them. That's the problem. But the planets, what I was saying is that they are from going into the masculine, dipping their toes into the masculine signs and then going back into the feminine signs. The shift is like whiplash, right? Would you say something like that? Kind of like, doing a 180, having things shift so drastically. Because it's not just one, it's all of them. It's like a tease for a moment, whether you like the energy of masculine energy where things are moving faster or anything like that, but or not, that's besides the point. I think that it just kind of brings you back. So is that what you're kind of saying with that?
Yeah, the Aries energy is good for like breaking out of old things. But after that like initial sudden burst, then there has to be a lot of it. You have to come back and make a lot of adjustments and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I have Saturn at 2 Aries, so I can promise you this is true. It's the sometimes the starts are slow and disjointed, even though although my Saturn is retrograde, so that could be some of it. But there's a lot of there's not all the forethought put in to possible implications of things, and so you have to come back later and straighten up and tidy the bridges you burnt down.
The bridges you burned down, that's funny. That's true, right? So on September 2nd, we end up having Mercury go into Virgo. So I think this is wait, does it go into Virgo? No, it goes into Libra, right? No,
it's Mercury's in Leo right now.
It goes into Libra later in the month. Sorry, I'm like having a mental confusion here. It goes into Libra later in the month, on the 18th or something. But it goes into Virgo, so it leaves Cancer, goes into Virgo. So there's this feeling of our mental state shifting, also going into something where it's more analytical, looking at the ideas of what's going on. I think we should all definitely, think about things that we can make better. I think the Mercury in Virgo helps us to refine, right? Mentally refine things and kind of make things more organized mentally. It's about making lists of lists too. I think that's another one. Don't you?
Yeah. No, I mean, you can feel. So one of the things I've been complaining about recently is how quickly they're sending kids back to school anymore. Like you can't send kids back to school when the sun's still in Leo. I mean, it's just there's not going to be up for it. The Virgo start of Virgo season is always the best time to start back to school.
I
So
agree
to
with
me,
that.
like this next this next week would be a much better time. Like up here, people started on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. They're all going back to school, and I'm like, you've got Sun and Mercury in Leo. That's stupid.
Yeah,
Like
that doesn't make
nobody's going
sense.
to be learning anything or figuring anything out. Like, and two with as we're talking now, like there's a new moon in Virgo this coming Saturday, what is it, the 23rd. So to
Hmm.
me, that's like that would be a symbol of the beginning of like going back to school. It's the Sun Moon conjunction in Virgo. So that means we're going to have um, two um, two Virgo new moons this year. Because there's one on like the first 24 hours of Sun in Virgo, and then the second one, that second eclipse on September 21st, is at 29 Virgo. So we actually have two Virgo new moons this year. So that probably means that we may not have a Libra new moon, or I'll have to look at that. I'll have to think that out further.
Well, I
Um,
think the
but
exact
we
timing
do
of it.
definitely have two Virgo new. Yeah. So I mean, you can feel the change in your brain when things enter leave Leo and enter Virgo. Leo's the party, Virgo's the cleanup after the party. So that's you have that ability to focus and stuff that you don't normally have. And also, and the difficult part of Virgo is it's too good at finding fault and problems and things like that. So like we just had the Mars and Virgo there for whatever it was, July and first half of August. And that was like there were so many like crises and things happening. Like there was no way to deal with them all. So it
Mhm.
was just
That was the first
you
half
know
of July, right? Yeah, that was
trying to
totally
pick.
chaotic for me. Yep,
Yeah. So it's
just
just
on
like
all
trying to
levels.
pick the biggest things that needed
Right,
fixed and then moving
right.
on.
Because you can only do so much, but that's true. Virgo wants to fix things, adjust things, make them better. I mean, I know that it's for the higher purposes for better, but sometimes that can be a lot, for like regular non-Virgoian people like myself. I don't have any Virgo in me, but I do
Right.
Capricorn, so whatever.
Right.
Yeah, so well, Mercury doesn't hang out in Virgo very long. It ends up moving out of Virgo later in the month, so we'll talk about that in a little bit. So the next thing we have is September 6th, Uranus station. This is going to be like the fun day, and then the full moon right afterwards, lunar eclipse right after, day after. So this is going to be, I think, the highlight of the month, right?
Second eclipse is going to be bigger than this first one, but I think just having Uranus station the day before the eclipse, that it's going to be super chaotic. Just
Mm-hmm.
Uranus and Gemini just has that flavor of chaos, anyways. A lot of
Mm-hmm. If you pull up the chart of this actual
there's
eclipse,
a lot
it's
of
really
disruption.
mm-hmm. I'm
Yes.
going to pull up the chart if I can of this first eclipse. So the eclipse on
Yeah.
on well, the eclipse actually is not as, the second eclipse is the one that's really crazy. Let me see if I can pull this up. I think I can. Okay, let's see. How do we do this? I don't know. Maybe I can't. But anyway, we'll just keep talking. If I can do it, I will. But the eclipse during the full moon eclipse that happens at 15 degrees Pisces, that is going to be September 7th, and that's at 2:08 p.m. Eastern Time, USA. So depending on where you are in the world, it could be, it will be a different time. I will tell you, I think this eclipse is going to be intense, but it's also going to be like a prelude to the other eclipses, the other eclipse that happens later in the month. So I got it open. So let me see if I can pull it up now. I think I know how to do this. My computer doesn't want to behave today. I don't know. Is Mercury retrograde? I'm kidding, because I know it's not, but it's really, everything technology is not working right today.
It should have. What's going on with?
We did. Okay, here we go. I got it. So you're able to see the screen, right? So this is
Yep.
Yeah. So this is our new moon. Our full moon. But it's interesting too. I mean, it's not even just the full moon, but you see these outer planets. This is what really gets me. And I know they're not connected to the full moon, but they're all at 1 degrees, like except for Saturn's moving a little further away. But that all of that combined is giving such energy. And I guess that's true. There is a semi-sextile with Saturn to Neptune and the moon. Saturn and a Neptune to the moon. If it's a semi square, sorry. So it is actually bringing in energy for the new moon with these outer planets. So this makes everything just a little bit more hectic. When I mean, I'm sure you do the same thing, but when you see multiple planets connected at the same time like this is when you get the powerful, like, oh my gosh, this is doing something. It's not just the, life is what it is. It's just like you get more intensity here. So I definitely see that. Is there something you wanted to share about this particular moon, though?
Yeah,
we're like preparing us for.
Yeah, so the big things there is, so not only is there a sun-moon opposition, but the sun is conjunct the south node.
Yeah.
And the moon. And then also there's Jupiter and Mars are almost exactly square. So having looked at events that happen on the Earth, when Mars is square Jupiter, that's a very good potential for. That's what I've noticed happens with those Mars squares. That's when we have like the big mass shootings and things like that. That's one of the things that pop up. Because you get Mars is anger and violence, and Jupiter is lots of, and they're in a square.
It makes
and
it
then
makes
having
it more
that the sun conjunct the south node. Yeah, there's obviously difficult things that happen, and then the outlet for it is that, like, that moon north node conjunction, where you have to take the Piscean bigger picture spiritual view to kind of figure out what's really going on. And then just, I mean, just having a Mars Jupiter square on the day, that just looks right. I mean, that just looks right for a lot of activity. The other thing that jumps out to me is college football season, and that Sunday is the first real day of the NFL season. So you've got the game should be very spirited those 2 days, if not super chaotic also.
That makes sense. Yeah. Do you ever look at the midpoints of like these eclipses and things like that? Do you ever do that?
Yeah, sometimes I do. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes I do too. I just didn't know if you ever really paid attention just to the midpoints. I was looking to see if there was a midpoint that was going on with the eclipse, but I wasn't seeing one just like a midpoint, like with a midpoint with the third planet is what I should have been more clear by saying that. But I didn't see one with the moon and the sun when there was that particular eclipse. But if you have paid attention to this, the Neptune at Uranus Pluto midpoint, which is also an aspect going on, has been like staying hard for so long. It's been like in orb, like within a degree or two, for a really long time. It's just like, I know it's aspecting everything, but like the midpoint just kind of reinforces what's already happening. So it's like it doesn't end. I guess that's where I'm going at with that. So, but I didn't see any like interesting, like really strong, interesting midpoints connecting with this particular eclipse. But yeah, we didn't really talk about Uranus going retrograde too, because that happens the day before the eclipse, which is the 6th. So Uranus going retrograde, station retrograde. So that at 1 Gemini. So that is really going to activate this particular planet pattern with all of these outer planets at the early degrees or the late degrees of the signs. What are you feeling about Uranus retrograde, and what do you think could be potentially going on with that? That seems like destabilization to me, like on a more mundane type of level.
Yeah, so Uranus rules technology. And so I think that the AI we were talking about, like it's just like exponentially taking over more and more real estate. Uranus going retrograde, hopefully. That slows the unbridled growth down a little bit. On any social media feed you go on, and it's like the number of videos and stuff that you see, like you can tell, it just expands. It's just really. But once Uranus goes retrograde, especially when it gets back into Taurus, which I think is later in the fall, hopefully it slows things down a little bit. Unheated.
When does it go back into Taurus?
Through the November 8th.
Okay. And wow, it takes that long to move that just 2 degrees. It's like, wow. And then when does it go back to retrograde, or back direct? Sorry.
So then it goes. It goes direct February 3rd of Taurus. And so that'll be the last Uranus station in Taurus. And then once it picks up speed, April 26th of next year is when Uranus enters Gemini for like its 8-year stay. So and at that point, Saturn and Neptune have already moved back into Aries, back into the feminine signs.
Aries is?
And then it's the last one to go direct. And Uranus is the last one. It's the last one to station retrograde back into the masculine signs. Or I said that backwards. It's the last planet to retrograde back into the feminine signs, and it's the last one to go direct again into the masculine signs. So when we hit April 26th of next year, then we're full on 100% in to the energy that we're going to have for 2 solid years after that. Because we got 2 straight into masculine signs and going a million miles an hour. Like I said before, just take July through September 21st of this year, and that's where we are right now is what things are going to look like once we get to next spring. There's not going to be any letting off of the gas pedal. It's just going to be full speed ahead. Your time to make changes and adjustments that need, or even decluttering your house, any kind of stuff like that, dude. Like that will save you time, allow you to move quicker and get things done faster. This fall and winter is the time to really consolidate down, so that you can, because you're going to need every set, stopping.
Yeah, you need all this.
There's no breaks or anything. It's just continuous chaos.
Yeah, that's interesting. So once we move past, I lost my space here, this Uranus station, the full moon, we have September 18th, we have Mercury going into Libra. It switched to signs again. So our minds will be going from Virgo to Libra, which is actually, it's a little bit better, I think, in terms of easing up on the analytical part of it. But then there's the indecision part of it, because Libra can be indecisive, as we know. So there's that change. Is there anything you want to share about that?
I mean, just the way the planets move, like, like we got, like, Mercury and Venus travel fairly closely to the sun. Like Mercury is never more than one sign away from the sun,
and Venus
either
is
direction.
Too, right? Mm-hmm.
And then Venus never moves more than 2 signs away from where the sun is, and that's the Mercury and Venus both move faster than the sun. They go retrograde too, which keeps them within that gravitational orb of the sun. So I think there's, it's kind of set up to give you, little breaks when you need them. Just like we have all these really super long moon void course periods right now. I think with the, it's exhausted from the crisis mode of being in Virgo, and it stops and slows down. It's like, okay, where was I running over things, or where was I getting rid of, where was I going too fast through things? And that Libra kind of Libra kind of has that overtly concerned to make, so that kind of is kind of needed after the Mercury and Virgo, where everything's like just like a crisis. So I like the Mercury in Libra is a lot more calmer, I think, and sometimes it does take too much time to think about things. That I think it's good to have some time to, like, especially with looking at what else is going on in that time period. That's a good time to stop and think, because that period, the period in between eclipses is always like super chaotic. So like September 7th through September 21st is going to be really, it's one of those periods like we talked about where it seemed like everything was a dream during that period. Like you can't clearly remember stuff. It's just because there's so many things shuffling at the same time. You really have to kind of look at it like before and after the period to really be able to figure out what exactly happened.
Right. I pulled up the chart of the solar eclipse on the 21st, but before this happens, the solar eclipse, we do have a couple things that go on, but I figured this is a good way to look at it because we can talk about it and we know how the planets are shifting. We do have, after Mercury enters Libra on the 18th, on the 19th, Venus ends up going into Virgo, because as you were saying, the way that the planets are moving around the solar system, Venus follows suit. It's never more than 2 signs away from the sun, and so it's moving along, right? And right before then, or right after then, is when the sun enters Libra in a couple of days. So that's what happens. If you're looking at this chart, the sun is still at, as you can see, 29 Virgo. And what happens when we have eclipses is the eclipses happen. The nodes are always close by when the eclipses happen. It's just astronomically how it works out. They're not always exactly conjunct, but they are close by. And you did say that when we looked at the other eclipse chart too. But look at what's going on in this chart. I mean, not only do we have the eclipse happening, which is obviously we do, it's opposite of the Saturn-Neptune, right? So, and I mean, Saturn-Neptune is at 0 and 28. It's making this big grand trine in the sky, also with Pluto and Uranus. And the nodes are mixed in, so it's activating like so much. It's making grand I guess they call that pattern a kite, right? I know Saturn's a little further away if you use wider orbs. I would consider it still there because there's so many planets. It's the energy of it is still there. So this eclipse, I know it's only a partial eclipse, but I think it could be a more intense eclipse that happens because of all these other planets. It's like, you strike a chord and things start just vibrating and moving and changing and shifting, activating things even more. I have been noticing with these outer planets making this, pattern with each other, the sextile trine with Saturn, Pluto, Uranus, and Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto, making those those aspects to each other, when Mars comes along and aspects them in some way, it kind of activates them even further. So it's like Mars is like the initiation or the fire that makes it happen. I know Mars is not necessarily involved in this, except for some really light quincunxes to Pluto and Saturn in this particular new moon, or a full, this particular new moon. But, you know, everything else is involved. So it's still like, you know, it's still happening, whether we want to, you know, like kind of look at it from just like one particular aspect or look at the whole chart. And I think that it's just an opportunity for things to shift in a different way. Eclipses used to be like omens. They would always say they're negative, but I don't particularly think anything is, you know, specifically negative or positive. Eclipses do seem to have difficulty though. I think more than some of the other astronomical events. What do you think about that, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, so the period between the eclipses is very chaotic, but then after like right now we have a set of eclipses in the spring and then another in the fall, or you know, very close to it. So the effects set last for at least 6 months until the next set of eclipses, which will be, you know, spring of 2026. There's just so much happening there. I mean, Venus has just entered Virgo. The sun is about, you know, this is the equinox. So the sun and the moon are both about to enter Libra. Mercury had just entered Libra a couple days before that. Mars is about to enter Scorpio. And then you got, you know, Neptune is retrograding, heading back towards Pisces. Uranus has just retrograded and it's starting to head back towards the end of Taurus. So like everything, you know, everything is in about 3 weeks after this. So like everything is changing or moving or in a state of flux. And I looked up to something else that's interesting is that so the eclipse is at 3:54 in the afternoon Eastern time on Sunday the 21st, and then Mars enters Scorpio the next, like 4 in the morning the next morning, in the afternoon the next day. So we've got like, there's just this continual, just like planets changing signs in just really quick succession. So to me, that shows that things are very, and two, I mean, with Venus South Node, Moon and Sun, Uranus, Saturn North Node, those are all immutable signs. So that shows that there's not a lot of solidity or form happening right there. Like in that chart right there, the only fixed planet is Pluto, and he's gonna start slowing down the station. In fact, he probably already is slowing down at that point. But in that chart, everything else is in Virgo. So that's just a lot of shuffling and changing, and you know that the full moon is that big release of energy, and then there's like 12 hours after the full moon, like right after the full moon, the moon's void course, but for less than 2 hours, and then the next morning the Mars enters Scorpio, which like builds that intensity right back up. So that's just a whole weird shift there within like a 24-hour period.
That's like disorienting.
A lot of
right.
It is.
Especially if you have planets.
I think of that.
29 degrees, like right in that end beginning of each sign. Because it's affecting you no matter what. If you have a 0-degree planet,
Right.
you know, like it's going to be connecting with your chart. Or
I just like
29.
all that. Go in Pisces opposition. That's just like the, you know, rocking back and forth on the ocean, the movement of being on the water. It's like, you know, it's like a teeter totter, you know, where it's just going back at that point. It's just everything is in flux, everything is in change. Look, if you need to make changes, if you have obvious changes that need made, it's a lot easier to make changes when everything is in chaos than when, you know, if we had 8 planets and fixed signs, then it's harder to get things to budge. But things are really at that moment of time. Now, 12 hours from that, Mars enters Scorpio. So that's some more fixed energy. But too, like immediately. So again, that's another one of those high violence potential times.
When Mars is in Scorpio?
Well, and square to Pluto.
Oh, square to Pluto. I missed it. I missed that part. Must have not went through. But yeah, I agree. Square to Pluto, those are potentially difficult times. Yeah. Um, right. And I mean, it's already at that point. It's
And
already,
two, that's another weird thing is we've got the Mars square to,
and then the Venus Uranus too. So if you really look at that, that's like making a whole pattern of energy between all 4 of those planets.
yeah. And if you look back at that first eclipse, the September 7th one, we had a Mars Jupiter square. Now at this eclipse, there's a Mars Pluto square.
Hmm.
So, yes, I mean, that's a lot.
So Mars again is activating something. Right. Let me share
That's a lot of energy and a lot of adjustments to be made.
Yep. I'm gonna share the first one again so we could see. Oops, no, I don't think I shared the right one. Is it? No, that's the solar eclipse. So the lunar eclipse is what I wanted to share. Right, right there. And there it is. And that, I mean, it doesn't look awful, but it also doesn't, it's like setting us up for this energy to be kind of released in some way or another. This chart. And
Yeah,
I mean,
also like, too, Mars square Jupiter can, while it does have a propensity of violence, it can also squares can unlock potential also. So um, you know, we can have that Mars Jupiter square building some. Sorry, the first one's a full that comes out at the whatever starts then on the first eclipse as possibly a culmination. The second eclipse is the new moon, which sets another. At the new moons is the time to start new patterns, new habits. So maybe that is the final release there um, on the equinox. Then is I botched that whole thing. I think you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, the equinox chart is just a day later. It's actually the 22nd, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Because the sun, that's where the Mars enters Scorpio early in the morning of the 22nd, and then in the afternoon is the equinox.
Did you look at that chart yet? Do you look at the season charts like that or no?
Yeah, but just I pulled up the. I mean, that would probably be a good one to look at.
I'm gonna pull it up right now. I just got it. Let me switch it.
It's 2:19 p.m. on 22nd is the.
Yeah, I think it's this one here. Is that the right chart that I pulled up?
I'm not.
Oh, I have to hide the other one. Okay, so there it is. That's the lunar eclipse. Sorry, that's just the solar eclipse. Now I know how to do this. This actually makes it a little bit easier. The lunar eclipse again. So what I really want to show you is this one. I wish I could share the entire of Sirius and just move it around, but for some reason it won't let me show that part of it. So I have to show them individually, which kind of stinks, but that's okay. We'll get there. Now I know I can actually load them ahead of time. So maybe next month we'll be able to do it better. Okay, so this is it. No, oh my gosh, I keep showing the wrong one. It won't let me for some reason. There we go. This is it, the equinox. So Mars then makes that sextile to the sun or moon and Mercury. Although that's a quick one, but that's the equinox chart. Do you see it?
Okay. Yep. I can see.
Yeah.
So that moon Mercury conjunction in Leo.
And that gives it that gives it.
Wait.
Is that right?
That's not the correct chart.
That's not the right
that's
one.
That's not the correct chart.
I had a moment there. I was trying to test you to see if you knew what you were talking about, although I've never done that before. Just kidding. Yeah, it says equinox, so I was sort of right. I didn't do the sun going into Libra and part of it. That was the whole point. My time of the aspect. Okay. That actually is interesting because there's another kite going on there in that chart. So let's see. Pop-up wheel view and graphics program. And now I can share this one. There you go. September 22nd, 2025. You know so many people with that birthday. Isn't that funny? I always thought that was interesting.
Yeah, no, I know a ton of people with that birthday.
Really? Yeah, me too. It's like how does that happen?
Well, for me, it's because it's opposite my sun.
Well, it's not opposite my sun, but it's like it's right on that same air Earth cusp as my sun is. You know, so it's interesting. So this is the chart.
Look how powerful this chart is. There's a Sun, Uranus, Pluto air. And that's correct. Look how close the Uranus is 121 of Gemini. Pluto is 128 of Aquarius. Then you've got the Sun. In fact, probably a day past that that air grand trine is probably almost
Perfect. Yeah.
almost exact, because the Sun will be at 1 degree of Libra.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a crazy chart there.
So when
So
you
that,
look,
I
when
mean, to
you,
me, that's thing.
mm-hmm. When you look at charts of the
Go ahead.
equinoxes or solstices, do you think of them as like, the birth chart of that season? Do you tend to look at them like that, or no?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of look at that as that's a chart for the next 3 months.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. And I mean, it's super powerful. It's
I
got a
did.
lot.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, look everything: Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, Sun, Mars, Pluto are all between 28 and 1 degree, all either at between 28 and 1 degree. They're all either 28, 29, 0, or 1 degree of their sign. That's everything really, but Jupiter, um, the inner guys that move really quick, pretty much. But like
Mm-hmm.
that's Mars and all the outer planets, all at the very end or very beginning of a sign. I mean, that's a that's a pretty insane lineup there.
It really is. It's a lot. It's intense, and that'll make the season of the fall in the northern hemisphere be a little bit more intense. So, and yeah, like you said, right after that, not even
Yeah.
12
Yeah.
hours,
Right.
Mars moves into Mars moved into Scorpio right after the Sun moved into Libra. So Mars and Scorpio is already in Scorpio in this chart.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mars had moved in that earlier that morning.
Okay.
Or yeah, earlier that morning, Mars had moved into Scorpio. Or yeah. So
And what's your
that's
take on Mars and Scorpio?
so. Um, so I have that. I have that. I'm having a Mars return while I'm in the middle of and Neptune on my Sun and Saturn, and you know what? I'm having a Jupiter return also. My Jupiter's at 24 Cancer, so I'll be getting Jupiter's almost on the Mars and Scorpio. I think is and focus it in the direction you want. Um, it, it's it's wrangling it. You have to um, direct it in a positive aspect.
Mm-hmm. Otherwise, it could be difficult
Because
or
it can
challenging.
also be like Mars and Scorpio cannot. Yeah, it could just be delusion, crazy
Mm-hmm.
fantasies and stuff like that. But if you can get it to and um, so like Saturn and Neptune are kind of in a quincunx with, but if Mars then that can be, and also too, Venus is forming a sextile to Mars too, because Venus is still in early Virgo there.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can get those, I don't even know what that pattern's called. You've got 6 planets. Mars at 0 Scorpio, Sun at 0 Libra, Venus at almost 4 Virgo, and then the Neptune and the Saturn at the bottom are opposing that. Oh no, that's a that's not it's not a kite. That's called a reverse. That's called a boomerang yacht.
A boomerang yacht. Really? That's one I haven't heard of before.
Yeah, yes, that's what that's called. Because you've got the Venus and Mars sextile to each other. They're both bottom, and then you've got the Sun opposite the Saturn Neptune.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the boomerang part, is the Sun opposite the Saturn Neptune, which is the quincunx of the yacht. And then you've got the Pluto Uranus trine with, so I don't even know what, I don't know what that whole there is a boomerang yacht in there. I don't know what the whole thing would be called. Probably a kite and an air grand trine.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. You know what we were looking at? I was looking at in a meeting that I was in with other astrologers. Is we were looking at the quindicelli, and if you take 2 of them and make one at the aspect of it, then the other 2 planets would be, if it's the same planet, then it would be semi-sextile, I think, so 30 degrees between it. So I went looking through everybody I know's charts. I could only find like a couple of those patterns, but it's interesting. I don't know, these different patterns, though, I think that they have the more intensity than they do if it's just 1 or 2 planets. Obviously more planets involved, more stuff is going on, but this chart shows you it's like almost every planet is involved, right? So if you look at it one way or another,
yeah.
If you use just
really,
white, orbs on here too. So if you use wider orbs. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I mean, you can easily throw the Venus and Virgo that far off.
Yeah, you definitely could.
So really, it's just kind of like it's just really just Jupiter. The Jupiter is not involved, but every other planet, and then yeah, that's great. And then the next day there you'll get, I mean, the moon moves really fast, but the moon will be opposite Chiron and square. You'll have a cardinal T-square with moon, Jupiter, and Chiron. Although that's not nearly as big as the other one.
Right, because the moon moves so quickly.
The boomerang yacht and the.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So to me, that's a change. So that's going to be very intense, and there's going to be continual change. So again, Libra is a cardinal sign. That's an initiator. And then so it being, the sun being opposite Saturn and Neptune, it's like, where do you fit in and create balance amidst all the chaos?
Good point. I don't know.
But damn, too. I mean, if you've got something at the low degrees of the air or fire signs, if you've got like 7 planets.
I'm just gonna hide for like September. September is like my favorite month because I start gardening again because we get to garden in the winter here. In the summer, it's just too hot to garden. Plants don't even like the summer here in South Florida. So I'm excited, but I'm going to hide in my garden and like hide away from the rest of the world because I have the 0-degree sun and then the Saturn at 29. It's like, it's never ending for me.
Yeah, that's weather permitting. I mean, Virgo season is a great time to, get down in the dirt and finally manicure your lawn and get all the plants and everything in there. And if you've got the climate for it, I mean, that's a good energy to be doing that.
Yes, definitely. And then by the Christmas time, they'll be fruiting, and I just keep doing it until the spring. So, because it never freezes here, so we never get like really cold weather. Nothing ever really dies. It just keeps growing. Even plants that die and come back, like up north, they don't do that. They just live forever here. They just keep growing. It's crazy. It's cool at the same time, but yeah. Yeah, so this is going to be an interesting month. I think that's probably the end of what we were going to talk about today, unless there was something else that I'm missing in terms of the
No,
planets.
I think that's the only. Yeah, I think just the only thing there is that um, Mars being the secondary ruler of Scorpio and Pluto being the main ruler of Scorpio. I think that Mars, if you can focus it and not just let it, drive you off the road, if you can focus that Mars energy, that's the ability to really, the strength of Mars and Scorpio is the ability to just sit and work and really dig down and hash through the details and find the root causes of problems and see where they really stem from, which is great because during this fall we should be really making fixes and correcting things so that things are streamlined by the time we get to next spring.
That makes sense. I've been doing a lot of that
So I
already.
think
Yeah, like setting up systems for myself, and I guess that's really good for Virgo season too. Setting up systems of like, this is a system of like, wake up and drink coffee.
yes,
Like then you can function, not like try to function and then
yeah,
drink coffee. I did that
yeah,
earlier. I was going to put coffee in. I was actually putting coffee in something else when I was trying to do something else. I'm like, why am I doing this? Oh, I need more caffeine. So
right,
it
right.
happens. Well, this was fun. Sorry it was glitchy, everybody. I'm gonna try to fix it, see if I can fix it and re-upload it and like without the glitches. That would be great if we could do that, but if not, maybe next month it won't be so crazy. But yeah, I think this is good. Thank you as always for joining me, Mark.
Yep, thank you for running everything.
Yep. All right. So we'll see you guys later. We'll see you in the next one. Have a great September.